The Battle of Sbeitla, February 1943. A turning point for the U.S. Army and General George S. Patton. 1. Strategic background: North Africa in crisis. By early 1943, the Allied campaign in North Africa had reached a critical phase. After the successful landings of Operation Torch in November 1942, American and British forces pushed eastward into Tunisia, hoping to trap the Axis armies between them and the British 8th Army advancing from Libya. However, the reality on the ground was far harsher than Allied planners had expected. The German Afrika Corps, led by the legendary Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, still possessed formidable combat power. German armored divisions were battle-hardened, tactically flexible, and supported by experienced commanders. In contrast, the U.S. Army was relatively new to large-scale modern warfare. Many American units lacked combat experience, and coordination between infantry, armor, and air power was often inefficient. This imbalance became brutally clear in February 1943, when German forces launched a powerful offensive through the Kasserine Pass, smashing poorly prepared American units and exposing serious weaknesses in U.S. command and doctrine. The defeat shocked Allied leadership. In response, the U.S. Army made a dramatic decision. General George S. Patton was appointed commander of the U.S. II Corps. Patton was known for his strict discipline, aggressive mindset, and uncompromising leadership style. His mission was simple, but daunting. Restore American confidence, halt the German advance, and stabilize the front. One of his first major tests would come at a little-known town in central Tunisia, Sbeitla. 2. The importance of Sbeitla. Sbeitla was not a large city, nor was it heavily fortified. But its location made it strategically valuable. Situated near key road junctions, Sbeitla controlled access routes leading deeper into Allied-held territory. If the Germans broke through here, they could threaten supply lines and potentially roll up the entire American front. After the disaster at Kasserine Pass, U.S. forces withdrew westward. Sbeitla became a critical defensive position where Patton planned to reorganize American forces, establish stronger defensive lines, prepare for renewed German attacks, restore discipline and morale. Unlike his predecessor, Patton immediately imposed strict standards. Soldiers wore proper uniforms at all times. Defensive positions were improved. Commanders were held personally accountable. Communications were tightened. Patton believed that discipline and organization were the foundations of battlefield success. Now, he would test that belief in combat. 3. The Axis advanced towards Sbeitla. After their victory at Kasserine, German commanders sought to exploit their momentum. Axis forces pushed westward, aiming to keep the Americans off balance and prevent them from reorganizing. German armored units advanced cautiously but confidently. They had already demonstrated their superiority in maneuver warfare against inexperienced U.S. troops. However, the situation had changed. Patton was now in command. The Americans at Sbeitla were no longer disorganized remnants. They were a reorganized defensive force, supported by artillery and improved coordination with air power. Still, the Germans underestimated the speed of the American recovery. 4. Patton takes command. When Patton arrived, he found a demoralized army. Units scattered. Officers uncertain. Soldiers shaken by defeat. He immediately reshaped the command structure. His orders were blunt. We will hold. We will fight. And we will not retreat again. Patton emphasized. Strong forward defenses. Aggressive reconnaissance. Rapid counterattack capability. Coordinated artillery fire. He personally visited frontline units, inspecting positions and speaking directly to soldiers. His presence alone had a powerful psychological effect. Many soldiers later recalled that Patton made them believe they could win. 5. The battle begins. In late February 1943, German forces approached the Sbeitla area. Unlike the chaotic engagement at Kasserine, the Americans now fought from prepared positions. Defensive lines were better organized, and artillery support was positioned to cover key approaches. When German units probed American lines, they met concentrated artillery fire, better infantry coordination, improved communication between units. The Germans still possessed superior armored tactics, but their advance was slower and more cautious. American forces were no longer collapsing. 6. Fighting around the town. Skirmishes erupted around Sbeitla's outskirts. German reconnaissance units clashed with American patrols. Artillery exchanges echoed across the open plains. Patton ordered his forces to avoid unnecessary retreats, hold terrain where possible, counterattack local penetrations. While Sbeitla was not the site of a massive tank battle like Elgeta, it represented something equally important: a psychological battlefield. American soldiers were finally standing their ground. The Germans encountered stronger resistance than expected, and their advance slowed. 7. Patton's tactical approach. Patton's doctrine emphasized aggression, firepower, constant pressure. However, he also understood that his troops were still gaining experience. Instead of reckless attacks, he focused on controlled defense, strong artillery use, limited counterattacks. This allowed American forces to absorb German pressure without collapsing. Patton's real victory at Sbeitla was not territorial, it was organizational. 8. The German withdrawal. As Axis objectives shifted and pressure from British forces increased elsewhere, German commanders began to reduce their offensive operations around Sbeitla. They had achieved their immediate goals after Kasserine, but further deep advances risked overextension. American forces held their positions. The line stabilized. The Germans did not break through. 9. Why Sbeitla mattered. Militarily, the Battle of Sbeitla was not a decisive victory. No massive encirclement occurred. No dramatic destruction of enemy divisions took place. But historically, it was critical. Sbeitla marked the end of American collapse, the beginning of organized U.S. resistance, the rise of Patton as an effective combat commander. After Sbeitla, American units fought with greater confidence, improved coordination, learned from German tactics. Within weeks, U.S. forces would defeat German armor at Elgeta, proving they could stand toe-to-toe with the Afrika Korps. 10. Patton's leadership legacy at Sbeitla. Patton's leadership at Sbeitla showed the power of discipline, the importance of morale, the value of decisive command. He did not win through brilliance alone, but through structure and confidence. Sbeitla became a stepping stone toward larger victories. 11. From Sbeitla to Elgeta. The lessons learned at Sbeitla were applied directly to the Battle of Elgeta in March 1943. At Elgeta, American artillery destroyed German tanks. Defensive tactics proved effective. Patton's doctrine paid off. Sbeitla had been the rehearsal. Elgeta was the performance. 12. Conclusion, a quiet turning point. The Battle of Sbeitla will never be as famous as Normandy, El Alamein, or Bastogne. But for the U.S. Army, it was a crucial moment of recovery. It was where American confidence returned. Patton proved his leadership. Defeat turned into determination. In the desert of Tunisia, amid dust, artillery smoke, and tense defensive lines, the U.S. Army began its transformation into the powerful force that would later storm across Europe. And at the center of that transformation stood General George S. Patton.